Delaware.
Morning,
Woo,
Marcy.
woo, we're happy today. Our theme for December is celebrating science of mind through the holy days, wholeness. Our topic today is science of mind and Rohatsu, the Japanese word for Bohai Day. Bodhi Day. Bodhi. In the science, behave. In the In The Science of Mind, page 851, Ernest Holmes wrote, "The hour of freedom has struck the bell of liberty, is ringing, and let him that is atheist come. Let us then plunge more deeply into our own natures and into the nature of the universe, and see if we shall not find treasures, undreamed of possibilities, never imagined, and opportunities which the fond thought, yearning for freedom, has often, in our vision of the greatest life, given us." In Thou Art That, Joseph Campbell wrote, "The kingdom is within you. Who and what is in heaven? God is in heaven. Where is God? Within you." This idea is the sense of Zen Buddhism. You must find it in yourself. You are it. Thou art that. That message from India electrifies us. Let us affirm together from the screen. I awaken to the light of God then, and I am in awe. I am as eternal and vast as the space that spans beyond the mind. My contact with everyone is a holy encounter, as I behold the one light present within all selves. I shine the light of divine love, peace, and joy, happily co-creating heaven on earth, a world that works for everyone.
Pretty in pink, Miss Marcy.
Mhm.
We appreciate you, Marcia. This month is full of festivities, isn't it? As we consider, it's not just Christmas, it's Hanukkah, it's Rohatsu, it's Kwanzaa, and there's another one, solstice. There are all kinds of things going on, and it's so interesting because this is the time of year when we approach the very darkest day of the year, when there's the most darkness and the least amount of light, and yet what we know is that the light that we are talking about within all of these festivities is the light within. It's something within us, the light of consciousness. So this entire month is devoted to looking at the commonalities among all of these different traditions, realizing that we are all headed in the same direction, which is inward, and it's an inward journey to discovering this amazing presence that many of the mystics say is unnameable, because the moment that you name it, it's you're limiting it. This, whatever this presence is, this inward journey, and so it's an inward journey of enlightenment, self-realization, cosmic Christ consciousness, oneness consciousness, Buddha consciousness. You could call it a myriad of different things. It's the mystic path, and that's what we share in common with all the mystics and all the world traditions. So the thing that I want to share that I think was just so powerful for me is when I started searching beyond my Christian upbringing into other world traditions, I began to see something very interesting. I began to see some common threads. The teaching of love and compassion, the awareness that the journey is inward and various things like that. And I also discovered something that also really shifted me a lot. And that was realizing what Joseph Campbell is so good at, is that the idea of myth and metaphor and symbol that runs through all these traditions, and that has turned some people off by saying, oh, this can't possibly be true, and so they write it off. And yet what I have discovered is that even though these stories, whether it's it's the virgin birth, or whether it's all the various stories that we've heard that run actually through many traditions, and we're going to be exploring that more this month, is that there's a reason and a purpose for all of these mystical stories, these metaphorical stories that stand for something much deeper. They guide us to the inner journey. They guide us to the path of enlightenment, and that's what Joseph Campbell said so beautifully, is that we have to stop looking at them as lies and begin to see them as teaching stories that teach metaphysical, mystical, spiritual principles, a path to enlightenment. Because we find that the subconscious mind responds better to metaphor and symbol than it does to just intellectually discussing a spiritual principle. So I love that. That was another thing that just delighted me when I discovered that. And so this month, our book of the month is Thou Art That by Joseph Campbell. And if you haven't read it before, haven't studied his work, I highly recommend it, because it just so beautifully carries us into the season and helps us to see how, I love this symbol that I carry here and that we have here, the oneness symbol, which is made up of all the major world religions, which reminds us that we are all, it's many paths, but one destination ultimately, which is that inward journey and the discovery of the vastness and the amazingness of what's there. So we're also going to be comparing these things to the path of science of mind. And today is Rohatsu. And Rohatsu actually means, I looked it up, it means the eighth day of the 12th month, so December 8th. And you might be saying, well, why don't we talk about it on December 8th then? Because this is December 1st. Because their festivities start on December 1st, and they culminate on December 8th, which is the Bodhi day, or the day of enlightenment, when Buddha awakened to the path the path that will take us from suffering, which he called the basic innate human condition, to enlightenment, freedom from suffering, freedom from which he found out was attachment or craving or desire for something outside of ourselves, thinking, and I think about it in terms of what we believe, which is the same thing, is that our suffering comes from thinking that our happiness lies outside of us, right? And so we keep wanting more and more and more and more and more. Maybe if I get that next thing, or that next relationship, or that next job, or that whatever it is, that then I'll be happy. And so when we begin to realize that that's not the source of happiness, that it resides within us, then we're free. So what a beautiful time to really look at this thing called enlightenment that we share with our Buddhist brothers and sisters. So the day of enlightenment for Buddha, at the time he was called Siddhartha Gautama. And he was sitting under a ficus or Bodhi tree, and he was determined that he would sit there until he found the root of suffering and how to be liberated from it. And so what he discovered was, in the process, was 3 stages of enlightenment. the cycle of rebirth, he began to see how he had been born, the same spirit born in many bodies, which is, some of our contemporaries like Dr. David Hawkins had a very similar discovery and shared that. And so the cycle of rebirth. And then the law of karma was the second stage of enlightenment. The law of karma, the law of cause and effect is what we call it. It's the same thing, that thought is the cause of our experience. And the importance of living the Eightfold Path, which is 8 particular actions or practices that support the path of enlightenment. Things like right view, the right viewer perspective, the right intention, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi, which is a meditative consciousness. And then his final stage, the third stage of enlightenment, that he discovered the Four Noble Truths. And then he reached nirvana, the Four Noble Truths, which were basically that suffering is innate to our human experience, is caused by attachment. It ends with non-attachment, and you must follow that by, you arrive there by the Eightfold Path. So when we look at these principles, and there's so much more to this than I can possibly explain in just this short period of time, but the ultimate is this thing called enlightenment or illumination, the state of attaining spiritual knowledge and insight that supports us in living our lives fully from our divine natures, being a beneficial presence on the planet. And so enlightenment then is the purpose of science of mind. It's maybe a little more rooted in the Christian tradition, in that we use the term God to talk about this ineffable presence. We name it, and hopefully we're not limiting it too much, because we keep reminding ourselves it's beyond the human imagination as to what this presence really is. And yet, this thing called spiritual liberation is so similar to what Buddhism teaches. Maybe not the same words, but the idea is that it's a movement from the illusion of separation to the awareness of oneness. That's the path of science of mind. And it's an awakening to our already present wholeness, completeness, and perfection. In other words, we're not broken. Nothing's broken. The only thing that is in the way are thoughts or beliefs that we are, or that something's wrong. So again, we're clearing the mind of stuff that gets in the way of living in an illumined, enlightened state, which is our natural way of being. So we embrace meditation. In fact, many of us practice a Buddhist form of meditation. And in the process, we are preparing the mind to be able to see and to witness that we are not our thoughts. We are not our feelings. We are not our bodies. The body is a vehicle for what we are. What we are is consciousness, is what we would say, or pure awareness. We are the witness, and the Buddhists say, and actually, it's something beyond the witness. It's more than that. So again, it's consciousness, and we in the science of mind, we talk about 4 stages of conscious evolution, beginning with victim consciousness, which is the ultimate of suffering. Because in victim consciousness, we feel totally powerless. And it's the blame and the shame game, and the guilt game is what it is. It's constantly looking outside of ourselves for who created, who caused me to feel badly, who did this to me, and so on and so forth. It's a path of suffering. And so we move beyond that through what we call forgiveness, which brings us back to the awareness of who we are in truth, the presence of love and unified with the one. And then we move into a stage called the manifester stage, where we begin to learn how universal law works and that our thoughts create. And then we actually even move beyond that, but still include it and realize that there is this presence that moves through us. God through me, the vehicle, the vessel. And then beyond that is the awareness of God as me. God as me. There's no separation. There's no separation. And so this God as me consciousness is oneness consciousness. The ultimate of illumination, self-realization. It's when Jesus said, I and the Father are one, he was talking about this idea of oneness consciousness. So the next piece that I think is so important is this idea of compassion. This idea of compassion, because when we open our hearts, this is a heart awakening. It's moving from head to heart is what's taking place. And in Japanese, the word sesshen means to touch the heart mind. And so December 1st through December 8th, monks from around the world practice Rohatsu Sesshin, which is an intensive meditation retreat in which they reflect on all the past year's meditations and touch the heart mind. It's again continuing to allow that compassion, that love energy, that awareness of oneness to grow. And when some of us who are scientists who love the science part of it, it's the gamma waves. The compassionate heart it's different. It's not the alpha waves of usual meditation. It's a whole different level of consciousness, this thing called compassion, because it comes from a pure awareness that thou art that, I am that, we are that. We are one with each other. And that's why it's difficult to watch someone suffer, because we feel that as if we are that person, because in truth we are. There's no separation. So that beautiful thing called compassion is also that love and compassion that we teach. And we say, when you begin to realize that you are one with all that is, or when we are one with all that is, that we cannot help but love and feel compassion. And so what we tend to do then is to practice our meditation daily as a way to cultivate that awareness of oneness. If it's not something that's easy for you to fit into your schedule, if you tell yourself that, try 5 minutes. 5 minutes, or 20 or 40, whatever works for you. The key is to get the shift in consciousness from seeing yourself as body, thought, and emotion to identifying with consciousness. And you might call it the spirit within or the divinity within. That's the key. And so think of, I love this idea, the light bulb. The light bulb is the vehicle of the light. The body is the vehicle of the light or consciousness. And the thoughts and emotions are part of how we are equipped to experience this time-space reality. So thoughts are our creative tools, right? And emotions are part of our guidance system when we know we're on track or we're getting off track. A way to kind of look at, well, what have I been thinking or what am I believing? that's creating this type of emotion in me? So let's make this real practical here. So it's identifying with ourselves, with consciousness, with the divine within. We're in the process of finding our divine perfect spiritual home, right? And I will have to say, I love the place we're in right now. I'd be really happy just to stay here. And yet, because of circumstances in life, we are being asked to find something by the end of January, and we've been given the grace, even though zoning says we're not supposed to be here, we're given time to look. And various options have come up. And with each one, we see drawbacks. You know, there's some challenges with each one of the things we've run into. And so what I was contemplating as I was preparing for this message is for me to remember who I am and who we are. We are pure spirit. We are the presence of love. We are the divine in expression. Our community is solid, cohesive, strong, beautiful. I love all of you more than you can even imagine. More than you can even imagine. So whether we are here or somewhere else, or if we have to be in a place temporarily until we find the right place, we have each other. And it's important for us to remember that we are not, just like we are not our bodies and we are not our thoughts, we are not this building. We are not this building. And so I think if we can really stay grounded and rooted in that knowing, then when the right thing comes up, we will know it. And it'll flow with ease and grace. So this I am sure for myself personally, this particular message was to really bring that home to me. Who are we, really? We are not this building. We are the presence of divine love. We're spiritual community.
Yes, we are. Can
Yes,
I have
we
an
are.
amen? No. We are.
Yes, we are. So Ernest Holmes says, unity with God on the conscious side of life is the guarantee that we are a center of God consciousness. When we embody this thing called oneness, then we open ourselves to the blessings of the universe because we're living in full alignment with that truth of abundance, of infinite supply, of all good, and of peace beyond all understanding. So let's turn within. In this moment, I am just guided to speak this word from a place of clear knowing that all there is one life, one source, one power, one presence, one great all in all. The presence of infinite love, infinite supply, absolute good, divine grace itself, the ever-givingness of spirit to itself and its creation. And I know that, therefore, that because the center of God is everywhere and its circumference is nowhere, that right here in the very center of my being, in the center of each and every one of us, is the totality of that one. And I'm talking about at the dimension of oneness, beyond the physical senses. And therefore, since we are one, and we are of the one, then we have within us the field of pure potentiality and possibility. It's within us, it's all around us, it is us. And so in this moment, we call upon that field of pure potentiality to give rise to the divine, perfect spiritual home that is just for us. Knowing that we are in this very moment clearing away all those modes of suffering that Buddha talked about, all of those shoulds, musts, have tos, all of that, the idea that we are something other than pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure divinity. And we allow then the inspiration of the Most High to inform us and to guide us and to direct us into right action and right thought, and to therefore allow that which is highest and best for all of us, however it appears to the human mind, to be revealed. As we rest in God, as we rest in the presence of and the awareness that all is well, we allow inspiration to have its way, divine guidance to have its way with us. And we are doing that right here and right now. So I release all attachment, release all attachment to how things should be, and I instead stand here in this moment loving what is, which is loving the beautiful being that I am, that we are, this beautiful spiritual community, wrapping my arms around all of us and knowing that we together can do anything. We can be anything. We are here for a really high and holy purpose, which is to be the presence of love, to be a beneficial presence, co-creating heaven on earth. And we are doing that already. We are being that here now in this present moment. And so we already have everything we could ever need or desire right here and right now. And so why should it be any different any other time? And so I'm just so grateful in knowing this truth and being aware of this truth. And so I embrace this truth with great love and great gratitude. And I release this word to the universal law of mind, that universal creative power of the infinite that's available right here and right now in this moment, takes the impress of my thought and brings it into full manifestation. So it is with a grateful heart then that I let it be, and I invite us all together to say, yes, and so it is. Amen.